Hi, this is Dalbs. I'm talking about my Multimedia Task 1 assignment to do with the sound design for the Clowns and Cops video. The first thing to talk about really is the concept of time within the video, because it's essentially a freeze frame in time of what's going on, and the camera is kind of representative of the viewer within this moment of time. And it's their vehicle for moving around and kind of seeing what's going on. So it's quite important to consider how to convey the fact that time isn't necessarily moving the way it should be, and the concept of the viewer moving through the scene as well. And the inspiration I took for the sound design really came from Japanese game design rather than standard kind of movie sound design. Because one of the things in Japanese game design is that they often consider the atmosphere of the scene more than the characterization. And something I heard before was that often in marketing for their games, their advertising campaigns usually based upon getting across the atmosphere, whereas a more Western style is to get across a strong character presence within the game. And the sound design tends to follow a similar kind of route to that, where if you look at an Eastern style game, something like Dark Souls, which is a Japanese game, the sound design for that is quite atmospheric, and all of the sound design is mainly to do with the actual atmosphere in terms of, for example, if you see a character on the screen walking through snow, you'll hear the crunching of the snow. And there's very little music in the game. It's only really during big kind of boss battles, and even then it's very atmospheric, adds a lot to the atmosphere while being quite simple. Whereas in more Western sound design for these kind of things, it tends to be a lot more vibrant, a lot more sound going on at once, and music tends to be a lot more important. Like, music will generally be all the way through rather than just at certain points, and that's interesting. I started off with more of a Western kind of feel to my sound design, and I changed towards a Japanese style after I started working on it. I just felt it fit better with the scene. And another inspiration I took was from Musique Concrète, the work of Pierre Schaeffer and Pierre Henry, in terms of taking sound samples and using logic as a DAW to manipulate those sound sources to change them into something they want originally, which is the basis of the whole Musique Concrète genre. So using techniques like reversal, time stretching, pitch shifting, reverbs, that kind of stuff. And the final thing to really talk about in this part is how I got the sound, which was used a Tascam field recorder. And I limited it to sounds that I could gather within just my own house, just because from previous work I did with Musique Concrète, it worked better to limit where you were getting your sounds from, in terms of, because it was very easy to end up with a wide variety of sounds, and then finding it difficult to fit them all together into a cohesive piece at the end of it. So it generally worked better to limit your sound sources and get the most use out of a few sounds, rather than get some use out of a lot of sounds. So that's the end of this section.